Time Zone Approval greeting to you and welcome back to the channel. Today is the last episode of Community Spotlight for Season 1. I want to thank everyone for taking part, everyone for listening, and everyone who's enjoyed it, basically. Today, a special interview with Bobby Clarke from Red Eagle Studios, a commissioned painter whose armies can be seen across the internet, including Tabletop Tactics' beautiful new Albion Raptors. A Golden Demon finalist. Welcome to this Community Spotlight, Bobby.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
It's normal Community Spotlight where we ask questions to yourself in two parts. A is what I ask everyone, and B is more specialised towards yourself. So let's jump in. Can you tell folks about yourself, please?
Sure. My name's Bobby. I live in the UK, Northumberland. I just had my 40th birthday a couple of weeks back. That was lovely in isolation, but it was good. And I've been painting for about 20 years.
How did you get into the hobby of tabletop wargaming?
I was very small and young. Had more hair than I do now, obviously. But I was on holiday in Wales. I was on holiday in Rhyl. I'd already done some modelling beforehand. I think I'd done the traditional toy soldiers, medieval models with enamel paints. I'd been a pretty whiz at Lego as well. I'd done a load of that. And I literally encountered a box in a shop of the Rogue Trader Space Marines. And I just popped in, Dad bought it, and I ended up doing that for the whole holiday. And it was amazing.
What sort of hobbyist are you? A painter, collector, gamer, or a bit of a mix?
I was a bit of a mix. In the 90s, I had a load of friends that I played with. We did everything then. 40k Warhammer, Mordheim. I ended up working for Games Workshop around about 98. And obviously working there, you did absolutely everything. And it was an amazing experience. And for the last 3 years, I've been a commissioned painter. So I would class myself currently as just a painter.
So when you were a young boy in short pants in the shop, what was the first thing that caught your eye about the Rogue Trader box set?
I think initially it was the artwork. That picture is amazing, and I think even with like the recent models they've brought out when they did the anniversary model of it, it was just something that made me stare at it for ages, all the detail, and I love the artwork and have ever since. I think is it Mark Gibbons? I think has done loads of artwork in the past. And that's definitely what drew me to it. And another factor when I was younger was the White Dwarf battle reports. I remember they had little Dad's Army arrows and explosions going on. And I don't know, I was absorbed, almost obsessed at the age of 9, I think.
What advice would you give someone just starting out of the hobby? Or maybe your younger self, now you've been involved for a while?
Oh, that's a tricky one, but I think a big important thing for me was finding some friends that did it as well. My dad was in the army, so as an army brat, I would move from place to place every 2 years, and it was often a struggle to get a good friendship lasting for a long time. And once I got a friendship and found someone who actually played it, it was definitely more fun. My personal hobby improved loads as well, the amount of games you played. So I would always say, try to find someone else early on, because you'll end up having more fun from that. Even if you're quite shy as well, like I was, you'll get quicker results from everything. And also maybe talk to someone who knows what they're doing. I know when I went to a Games Workshop, I spoke to a manager called Paul Chapman, and he was just amazing. And he just sat me down and showed me how to do it. So I think my advice would be try not to struggle on your own, and definitely find someone who is actually gifted and skilled at it, and literally steal everything they can do, all of their ideas, and just copy them to start with, because I think it's more encouraging that way.
Have you ever had an extended period out of the hobby?
I did, yeah. I think it was around about 10 years ago. I left Games Workshop onto brighter and newer things with my new girlfriend, moved up to Northumberland, and I was working in retail, and really did. I lost the hobby almost. It didn't happen. My friends were no longer with us, so I was almost on my own, and I just carried on with work. So I think I had a gap for about 10 years actually, until around about 3-4 years ago. That's when it came back into me.
So how do you get sucked back into the hobby?
It was a coincidence actually. I would always read the White Dwarfs and try to update myself, but it was very minimal. It was only now and again, and I actually lost my job. A serious thing happened, and I was like, okay, I'll have to try to get a new job. But I actually got a bit poorly. I don't want to get too deep and too sad, but what I had to do was come up with an idea of how am I going to earn some money, basically. And I met a man at a job centre, and he really helped me out. And he came up with the idea of maybe you should paint some toy soldiers. You told me you can do that. And he actually came up with a business plan with me. And that's how I came back into the hobby, just from that. So it was almost running out of money. What do I do? I'm going to use my brush. And that's how it began. And I was back into it straight away, as soon as that happened.
Oh, wow. What's the best part about the hobby for you?
There's lots, to be honest. I think naturally it's painting, just because I find it very expressive. And sometimes it's really awkward to express myself with words. But when you're doing painting, I enter almost a zone of relaxation. It's very weird. It might be because I'm in Northumberland, the sun's out rarely. So, you have to cheer yourself up with a bit of painting. And I find it very relaxing, and there's a massive sense of achievement by getting stuff painted. And I plucked up the courage a year ago to Warhammer Fest and actually enter a model in that. And yeah, I think that's the best part, is literally just doing what you like doing in the hobby, and don't always listen to what other people are saying that you should be doing. Find out what you enjoy and do that.
And on the flip side, what's the worst part about the hobby for you?
Oh, it's a bit tough. I don't actually have that many negatives. I did think about this hard previously in my life, and I was like, why did I leave the hobby, this and this? And all I have now is I really don't like building Forge World. It's as simple as that. The amount of models I've built from Forge World, and so many are stunning, it's an absolute nightmare to do it, and I don't quite understand how it's still a problem. It's not obviously all the kits, but it's soul draining when you've got to get a saw out, you've got to get hot water and bend things back. But it's such a minor thing in the hobby as a whole. And what else? Paint pots, can you just make them in dropper bottles? That's all. It just makes my life easier. But in general, I'm not actually that negative about the hobby. There's nothing that I can think of that's massive.
So what keeps you in the hobby then?
Predominantly it's my job obviously now. So as a commission painter, I've been doing it now for just over 3 years, and it's actually massively rewarding. So it's really good to do. I'm always improving. And I've met some really good people as well. A lot of the times people mention the community and how it is an important part. And for me, it's really massive, because I've met so many people while doing this commission service I do. And it's almost tearful, to the point where you help out charities and you actually really do get stuck in and make a difference to people. And last year I went to an event held by the RAF. A man called Andrew Weller organised an event. And I really went into it, and he basically asked for some help. And he was playing 40k for 2 days non-stop. That was his idea, and he was going to raise funds for a charity. It was for the charity Calm, and I got involved. And I enjoyed it. And I painted a 2,000 point army for free, and we actually donated that, and it all went to charity. And I think we made £2,000 from the army, which was pretty sweet. Loads of people got involved, and we're doing it again this year as well in September, on the 12th and 13th. And hopefully, if all goes well, I'll be doing a Primaris army this time, and it'll be the same again. So I think it leads to you finding really awesome people in the hobby. I've physically found them face to face, but you can get them on Instagram or Facebook, wherever. But I think the community can make a big difference for your personal hobby, but also for the charity work that a lot of people do as well. And it's very, very interesting how I think mental health is a big thing. And I think that this can actually be something that solves it, but it's something that eases life, I think, doing a hobby and doing it well.
Yeah, I personally believe that after speaking now for a few interviews, and there's a few interviews that have come out before this one of just how important the community is towards mental health of the people, because we are a very insular community, aren't we? You know, we don't really get out very much, and there is like a stereotype, you know, and you know, the more and more people talk, the more and more people are going to find out, you know, they aren't alone in the world, you know.
Definitely, and I think the difference is very big. When I used to work for Games Workshop, I had an awful lot of people that came into the store that were very lonely almost, and when they came in they were scared to do stuff, and they were very, very quiet, and there was often 10-year-old kids that wouldn't kind of open up. And once they came into Games Workshop after a few painting lessons with me or anyone in the store, they suddenly opened up. And I think from that early age I noticed that it can make a massive difference. And I used to do stuff with the scouts, school clubs, and you suddenly notice that it isn't just a bunch of blokes playing toy soldiers, it's about a bunch of blokes and women that are actually painting and doing the hobby, and it makes a big difference.
How would you deal with a burnout or a lack of hobby mojo period?
Currently it's a bit tricky because obviously I set a deadline for my clients. They expect things done at a certain time, and if I'm not feeling like I'm in the mood to get that done, currently I just plough through any pain I have. I'm half German, so I'm quite efficient and things don't get in my way. But I can fix it by very simply having maybe an evening off. As I'm my own boss, I can literally have a 6-hour break from doing the hobby, do something completely different, you know, to almost de-stress, and then you can get back into the actual work then. So burnout for me is almost being overworked. As a commission painter, many of them out there that are full-time will do more than a 40-hour week quite easily. I do over 50 normally. And I think all I try to do is have a break from it, a very brief one, enjoy something else, and then you can go straight back into it fresh.
Has anyone inspired your hobby style or life?
Recently, I have actually found someone on YouTube called Venturella. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I think he's American, and he does a show on YouTube, which is all free, and he demonstrates painting techniques. And his style is completely different to mine, which is why I think he's amazing, because he puts it in such an easy way for you to understand. But even someone who doesn't paint like him can still learn. And he's very honest. He gives feedback. You can send him pictures of your models. He'll review them, send them back. And he recommends things as well, like certain paints he enjoys, and not too much, but enough for you to get a good start and nail something that you might be having a problem with. And he's very methodical. I would say he's almost inspirational. When you see his stuff, it is amazing. I don't even know how he does it. And I've obviously painted for 20 years. You'd think I'd know, but I clearly have no idea. So you always see new things.
So what personal projects are you working on at the moment?
Personal projects. It's very hard to do personal projects at the moment. With the charity event coming up soon, I haven't got much spare time, but I am doing a little bit of Star Wars Legion. I don't know where it came from, but I'm a big fan of Boba Fett. So I've ordered the model of him. I've also done a Count Dooku. He's going to be done soon. And I'm going to be doing a Sisters of Battle Army. I'm a big fan of those models, and I'm planning on doing a Joan of Arc kind of theme to it, mixed in with a little bit of Black Templars. I'm a big fan of Templars in real life, as in the history, and I think it will look really cool.
So with these projects, do you plan them out? Do you say for example you build towards a list, or do you just collect everything that's cool?
Personally, I'm completely different to how I am when I'm at work. When I'm at work, I'm very methodical and plan things out. I'm completely the opposite when it comes to my own hobby, though, and I'm quite mad. I'll buy things on impulse. There's no structure whatsoever. It's whatever looks cool, I will go get. And then when it finally turns up, I then realise it's a pretty awful army list. I haven't done anything right. But I go for the actual look for it. So I always go for models first. So it's quite sporadic and chaotic, I'd say, in a good way.
If your budget was unlimited, but you could only buy one army, what would it be?
I think I would really enjoy a 30k army. I've painted so many Marines in my lifetime. From when I first started in Games Workshop, I must have done over 1,000 just at Games Workshop. And if you see from my Instagram pictures, I have non-stop Marines going on all year round. But there's something about 30k that I find really interesting. I love the color schemes because they're not too bright; they're a bit more realistic. The sculpts are amazing, but obviously it's in resin, which costs a bit more, quite a bit more in some cases. But I think the models are stunning, and I really, really enjoy the storyline as well. The Black Library books really bring it to life. So I think I would like to see Titans. You know, you would need to have everything and go all in.
Have you got a favourite Black Library book?
It's actually quite an obscure one, but I quite like Necropolis. It's a very old book. But when it came out, it was about Iron Warriors in a siege. And I remember I must have been maybe 20 when I read it, and I could not put this down. And I think I read it 3 times. It was that good, and it had giant Iron Warrior war machines like Defiler crab creatures scaling walls and firing rockets left, right, and centre. And it really focused on the basic infantrymen trying to combat it. And it was quite amazing to hear, because it wasn't just like superhuman space marines everywhere. It was normal humans trying to combat them. And it was a fascinating story, and it was really a good read. But yeah, maybe even more than 3 times. I loved it.
What do you hope to improve about your hobbying in the future?
There's a few things. Freehand is the big one. I'm not very good at doing actual like blank canvas kind of work, I'd call it. Actual proper artwork. I got an E in art. It was very bad in GCSE. And my art teacher said, "You're not very good." I was like, "Okay, thanks." But I can still be a commission painter. But when it comes to painting, say, an actual piece of art on a flat surface, I find that very difficult. And I've just done a Space Marine banner, and I'd freehanded a big eagle. It looked a bit like a pigeon, but it was an eagle, I would call it. And it was actually, I was pretty impressed with it, but it took hours, and it's something I'm not very good at. So I think definitely my freehand work I would like to improve on. And the second thing I would probably go for would be my weathering and chipping. I don't know about hair dry. They do a technique where they spray on chemicals onto your paintwork to create a chipping effect, and it boggles my brain because all of my art that I do is clean. So when someone asks me, can you do a mucky model or weather him or chip him, instantly I don't want to do it. It makes me a bit tearful. But I really want to learn about weathering powders more and how to rough up the models to make it look a bit more grimdark.
Yeah, I first saw that on a video tutorial for a model train.
All right.
And it's the way the guy goes through it. He like sprays it like zenithal, like 4 different shades of brown, puts this stuff over it, dries it off, then paints it properly, and then just gets a Q-tip and just like slowly takes it off. And it's like, are you a wizard?
I just never understood it. I've seen things similar to that, and it blows my brain at what you can do. And part of me feels bad because you might mess up good painting, but I think you can get a really good effect, and I think it's definitely something I've shied away from for too long.
Yeah, Bobby, that's the end of part 1. We're going to jump in 2 feet into part 2, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes. And welcome back to part 2. These questions are more aimed towards yourself. How did Red Eagle Studios start?
It was about 3-4 years ago. I didn't start with an actual website or anything. It was a bit more simple, actually. I had an eBay account, and I literally painted some models and popped them on eBay. I sold a few little bits and pieces, painted up about 100 models at one stage, and it sold instantly. And this happened a few times. And these people that bought those models are actually still my clients. So it all started from 2 people that just bought my models. They loved them that much that they then went, "You should do this full time, like, and do it a lot." And I was like, okay. So I then plucked up the courage and did a website. And I became a commission painter. So it was very weird in that, it came from eBay originally. The client base grew. And now I think I'm on a fair few followers on Instagram, if that means much. I just and really thankful that I'm busy.
What's the process of someone wanting to set a commission with you?
It's fairly simple, really. A lot of them just directly message me on Instagram. I prefer it if they can go via my website because it gives them a bit of information beforehand. Otherwise, they end up asking me a million questions, and I'm right in the middle of painting something, and if everyone messaged me at once, I would never be off my phone. So they can go on my website and fill out a simple form that just details what they want to get done. Or they can just email me as well. Or grab us on Facebook. But it's quite a simple procedure as well. We literally just talk about stuff. So I just consult to start with what they want, what they'd like it to look like, and then I send them a quote. I've also got prices and stuff on my website to help them out a bit. And then, eventually we can then book them onto a schedule. And they pay about a quarter of it early on, just to make sure that they're definitely booked on, like a deposit. They send me the models about 2 months before start time. And then when I'm painting, I send them pictures every day or every other day. And then when they're finished, they pay the rest in postage. It's as easy as that, really.
How do you settle on a pricing structure for the models? Is it based on time, the size of the model?
To start with, I did it on the exact models. So I would say £5 for this Space Marine, £20 for that tank. The only problem is I hadn't quite worked out how long it takes to paint these things. So in my head, it sounded like a great idea. And then it worked out that I was earning less than minimum wage, and it was the worst idea ever. So I kind of reversed that and thought, how much do I want to earn a day? Divide that obviously by the number of hours you're working. And so I reversed how I wanted to do it in the end. So now I just have like a rate. I can determine how long it takes things to get built. And then I'll just pop that on my price list then. So you can actually see something that's worth £200 takes quite a while to paint. Some of that's only like £15, not so long at all. And that seems to work a lot better. It means I can actually end up getting some days off.
Does being a commissioned painter risk your enjoyment in the hobby?
It can do greatly, yes, because I'm very nice and it's hard to say no. So a lot of times, when you're doing personal hobby, it's not very easy to cram it in because you're trying to get all your work done and keep your clients happy. And it does mean you end up spending more time on social media as well, replying to them. So yeah, it can be a big risk. I think what you've got to try to do is to map it out on a calendar. That's what I do anyway. So I can dot it out when I've got a day off, when you haven't. And if you do too much at once, which is what I did to start with, you would definitely burn out. It would get to Christmas time and you would just be ready to hang your brush up. So I think making sure your schedule isn't too busy throughout the year is good. And also remembering that I am my own boss, so I can decide what happens. I think I now say no when I'm too busy, and you say yes when things are going well.
Have you ever had a commission which has led to you thinking about starting the army for yourself?
Definitely, yeah. There's been, I think, 2 times where I put so much work and effort into it, I almost did more than my client did. A lot of the times my clients contact me and they'll talk to me and they'll tell me what sort of theme they want, how they want the models to look. They have all these great ideas on conversions, getting the parts together. And the first one I did was a World Eater army, which appeared on the 30k channel. It was a really cool army. And I didn't know much about 30k then. And the guy, Justin, who wanted this, was over the moon and so excited that it literally, I became a World Eater overnight. He would talk to me for hours about World Eaters. He even bought me a little World Eater goodie bag. So I got the Angron book. I got literature for free. He literally sent me the stuff and said, I need you to get so absorbed by World Eaters. I need you to like whip out a chain axe. And I was loving it. And I actually gave that guy more painting for free because I was that involved. I spent a few extra hours getting the army finished because he was so involved in it and loved it. And I got a lot of replies as well, a lot of positive feedback from the people that watched the battle report as well. And they loved seeing that army. And more recently, I did a Custodes army. Or is it Custodes? I never know which way you pronounce it.
I'm not sure either. No one is.
I don't think anyone does at all. But it was an army that was... they were painted red armour, but also had white panels to them as well. And the bike itself, I did a giant white eagle on the front, used loads of cool banners, and it was quite amazing how many hours you find you pump into it. It's not just like work where you think, I've done 8 hours, I'll put it to the side. You would do 8 hours, then do an extra bit at the end just to finish off. Magnets would come out. You would really think, how am I going to transport this? If anything breaks, there's going to be tears. So you've really got to plan things out a bit more. And I would definitely want to do those 2 armies personally. I was so impressed the actual look. It was hard. When that postman took them away, it was almost, you better make sure this gets here in good condition.
Have you got a favourite commission that you've done?
Favourite commission?
Or even, let's say, top 3.
Oh, wow. I remember my first one might not even be actually my best work, but the one that I remember that I loved is I actually painted some trains early on. And it may sound a bit odd, but my girlfriend's dad is a big train fanatic. He's got it in the loft. I don't even understand it or what goes on, but he gave me some trains to start with and asked me to do some weathering on them. And it was the first time with an airbrush. And I actually sprayed on all the paint. I did all the weathering. I did all the muck on the windscreen wipers on the front. And it was really memorable because I then gave it back to him and said, you can have them. I'm not going to sell them. You can keep these, enjoy it. And it was really memorable because I think it was around Christmas time I gave them back to him. And he was so over the moon. It was like seeing a grown man. He's 20 years older than me or so. A grown man think, wow, that's amazing. And I was like, wow, this is quite memorable, painting for my girlfriend's dad. So I would actually say that had a big impact on me. The second, I did a unit for the World Eaters that I was blown away with because it was the one I entered for Warhammer Fest. I thought I could do really well. I was really optimistic about them. And I got pipped to the post. I almost made third, I think. I was in the little group just before that. But I did the Hateful Eight. If anyone's seen the pictures on Instagram, they're pretty cool models. They were all converted up. And they were actually converted by a friend of mine who did them, called Richard. And I really enjoyed those. I did banner work. It was the first freehand. But I think the top army has to be the Custodes. I can't stop thinking about those Custodes. And recently on Instagram, someone did an army that was a mirror to what I'd painted. And I think there's something about red and white. I don't know what it is. But I think all the skills that I put into that made them... It was really awesome to see, I think.
Would you ever turn down a commission because you didn't like the models or the paint scheme?
Simple answer is yes. I think when you're starting out, you say, I'll do anything because you need to get the business in. So I think for commission painters that are just starting off, I would always advise just do it, just to get experience, whether you like it or not. But I'm quite lucky in that because I've been around for a few years now. I'm quite established, I'd say. I get to almost choose a little bit as to what I think I would prefer doing. And it's not always... I'm not really too sure on the reason. Maybe it's a selfish reason. I want to get enjoyment out of doing these models because it is a job. Yeah, I am self-employed, so I want to make sure that I'm still enjoying what I'm doing. If it becomes a chore, then I think it will then affect your paint work. And no matter the model then, it won't look as good. So if you enjoy what you're doing, it will come out as a better model then. And so, yeah, definitely I get to pick now what I'd like to do.
Are you purely a one company paint man? Like, for example, you only use Citadel paint, or have you spread out a bit?
Initially, I was, yeah, because I'd worked in GW. I was familiar with the paints, knew how they worked, and you could almost pick the colour you wanted to use straight away without even looking at them. You knew what to get. But eventually I found that the other paints were actually pretty good. I think it's pronounced Vallejo. That's another word that I'm not great on. But that one, they do brilliant metal work. The metal paint that they do is so thin that you can put it into an airbrush directly. And they're the best out of all the metals I've found. Also, Army Painter I recommend. They're very, very cheap. You need to put an agitator in there, otherwise they come out like creamy. But I would definitely recommend those. They're similar to GW, but a lot cheaper. And there's nothing wrong with going for the cheaper paints. And the contrast as well, I'm a big fan of. I put those through the airbrush recently, and I've used them in a totally different way than what they're meant to be, and got a much better result from it. So I don't think there's really any one company you can just stick to. I think finding a nice colour from various helps a lot.
And then on the other side of it, favourite, have you got a brand of brushes you always go to?
I've got a couple really. because of the amount of models that I do every week, every year, I go through hundreds and almost thousands actually of models I paint. I need to have quite a good workhorse, and I normally have Army Painter, bizarrely, as my main workhorse. The regiment brush that they have in that set is so hard wearing almost. You can crank out the paints and get jobs done quick. But for the finer detail work, I use Rosemary & Co. I think they're the ones that make Artist Opus brushes. But the Rosemary & Co., they're quite a good price, but they're not too good. I don't want to have a Winsor & Newton because I'll trash it. I'm quite messy sometimes, and the fear of destroying an expensive brush is too much. So I'd rather have a nice, accurate brush like a Rosemary & Co., and if it does go wrong, it's not the end of the world then.
You started to produce your own bases online for models. How did this business start? Was it from a necessity, like saying, for example, to a client, I've got these bases which will look great with your models, or was it just something you've enjoyed and done in the past?
I think it was suggested by someone. I forget who it was, but someone said, those bases you did on Instagram are really good. You should make a bit more. And when I actually tried it, I was like, they take ages to make. And then I thought, what if I did do a bit of a base range? What if I did some urban? They'd look good. And I think my girlfriend was like, yeah, why don't we just try out some silicon molds and see if they work? And it became a range. So I think now I've actually got all of the Games Workshop sizes in the range. They're really quick and easy for me to make, which means it doesn't chew up any of my commission time because I'm working at max capacity now. I can't do any more work in a week. And a little thing like that means during my lunch break, I could produce 50 bases out of resin. They're all high quality because I've sculpted the originals myself and made them. And it's just a little bit of extra money that I can get in without having to do 60 hours a week, which doesn't sound good to me at all. So I'm thinking it'd be two birds, one stone almost then. Yeah, I'll have some customers that might want some urban bases at a low price. And for me, it's just a nice bit of hobby I can make.
You've alluded to before about being a Golden Demon finalist at Warhammer Fest. How did you push yourself to start competition painting?
It was very bizarre, actually, to push myself to get into almost the right frame of mind for that. I had to really go back and look to see what other people had done because I've not entered it before. I hadn't really paid much attention as to how much detail goes in, and it's quite a bit. I originally thought that it wasn't going to be that much. It should be quite easy to get in. I'm a painter. But then I was like, wow, I've got loads to do and everything's important. So I think a lot of research happened. I was really fortunate in that the person that I was painting for currently, for those World Eaters, actually paid me to enter the model. So he actually commissioned me to enter his models I was painting for him. And he was so excited about the whole thing that I devoted, I think, a whole month of my time to actually getting that done. And I think that was 4 times more time I'd normally spend. So to push myself for that, I really had to knuckle down and make sure everything was done good, because people like Andy Wardle are a bit good, So I had to try.
So what plans for Red Eagle Studios in the future?
I've got a couple, actually. I think some more bases are on the cards. Bizarrely, my girlfriend can sculpt, and I found this out accidentally when she just whipped up a forest base out of milliput, and it looked better than anything I'd ever seen. And I was like, where'd that come from? And she hadn't shown me before she could sculpt. I don't even think she realised she possessed these skills, but she did it. She then made 5. Now she's done 10, and she was like, what do you think of this tree trunk? What about the toadstools? Are they good? I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I think I'm just going to make a bit of money out of that, I think, is what I was thinking. We'll get those bases on the thing. But they're really good. And I'm going to be trying to get some ideas from other people on what they want bases as well, because there are loads of bases out there. So if people have got any suggestions, they can let me know, and I'll try and do some other ranges as well. But definitely some more bases. And the second thing, if I end up freeing up some time, is actually to do some more tutorials. I think at the moment all I've done is a few bits on Instagram and Facebook where I've actually shown stage by stage in a picture form of how to do something, whether it's a base or a model. And I do painting lessons, like at the 40 hours of 40k charity event. I do painting lessons there face to face, and I found that people benefited from that massively. People looked at me funny, like, "Oh my god, that's how you do it," and I wanted to try to think, how could I do this? And I think doing tutorials either online or doing little seminars face to face or something like that, I think would be really good. And maybe doing it as like a yearly event then at certain venues. I think that would work out well.
So where can people find you on the internet?
They can. I've got a website, readyeaglestudios.com. They can do Red Eagle Studio on Instagram, on Facebook as well. All of those will work fine. And if you do get a chance, on Facebook, check out 40 Hours of 40K. That's the charity event that I'm helping to organise, take part in, and that's in September this year. And we're actually auctioning off the army I'm painting as well. So it'd be really cool if people could support that.
Yeah, sure. I'll post all the links below. I don't know why I'm pointing, but the links are below.
I appreciate it. It's good. It was good last year. I want to make it that little bit better this year. So I'm going all in.
There's a final question, which I ask everyone. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
It would be rude not to, I'd say. You've got to have pineapple sometime. I would advise going with a nice sweet candy bacon to go with. I'm also a bit freaky when it comes to food, and I would also say go with tuna. I don't know if that's going to work, but in my brain, I know that a tuna pizza is amazing with sardine sauce. You may cringe.
I'm cringing right now.
Get some pineapple in there, and I'm telling you, it will liven it up.
Oh,
but then again, I like gherkins, so maybe a gherkin pizza might be great. I don't know.
Now you're talking.
Mm.
So, gherkins, pineapple, sardines, tuna.
Winner. That's what I say.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for this interview and taking time to talk to me.
Thank you. It's been really good. I just found your channel recently, and I was really impressed. I listen to it when I do my painting, and I just want to say a big thanks for reaching out to me, because I didn't think I'm just like a little pawn really in the grand scheme of things. But I think it's really good what you do, and it's a very, very good listen. Actually, I really enjoyed it. So yeah, good luck to all your future work.
Thanks so much.